Yo guys, Professor Theo here on Common Sense. Today we're continuing our muscle group series with Boulder Shoulders 101, and this is going to be an interesting one. You'll see that compared to chest and back that we already did in this series, there's going to be some interesting differences, especially when we get to programming. What I think is interesting about the shoulders is that you can technically develop quite well-rounded Boulder shoulders without ever really training them. And by that I don't mean literally not training them, of course, but you can technically have a workout program that you follow every week where none of the exercises in it you think of as, oh, I'm training my shoulders now. You'll still develop good shoulders. I'm actually point in case with this. It's not the exact same thing, but let's put it this way, like, because I have quite well-developed shoulders, I would say it's a strong point in my physique. Still, shoulders is never something I have prioritized like as a whole, and we're talking about exercises, like compound exercises or just typical movement patterns like bench presses or dumbbell presses and, lats pull-downs and pull-ups, chin-ups, dips, rows, deadlifts and squats, and shoulder presses. From all these basic exercises, I have done shoulder presses on and off, different variations, but it is the type of movement I've done the least, like consistently in my program. Still, I have good shoulder development, right? So I'm going to tell you my shoulder philosophy here, but let's start with the anatomy here. So this is, well, it's a decent deltoid. That would be my right deltoid, okay? We have the front here. And this is funny too. We typically split the shoulder into three heads, the front, middle and rear. At some point we realize that even like we do some divisions because they're helpful. They serve they're like dividing the shoulder into three like this clearly has shown to be a helpful thing to do. It serves a purpose to do. Technically though, it's one big muscle, and you could technically, when you look closer, you could divide it into more than just three, But typically, thinking of it as front, middle and back is helpful. But I just want to have that said to make you realize that it won't hurt to change a little bit by little variations of exercises to just target some fibers, even on the middle or on the front or on the back a bit more, right? But we will talk just about the function now of the shoulder. So the thing is just that we rarely use the shoulder completely isolated, but the front of the shoulder here, it does shoulder flexion, which means raises the arm up like this, right? It's just that typically that might not happen on just a completely straight angle, and also often together with the chest and triceps in some kind of press. You see, it's still that happens, right? It's just right. And I always try to explain this because I know that it was hard for me to understand sometimes when you said that something is like a shoulder movement, and I could clearly see, but the arm must be doing something there, right? So be very specific about it like that. Okay, then we have the middle, and it does, what do we call it? Abduction. Yeah, it raises the arm to the side, basically. And then we have the rear delt, which performs shoulder extension. So that would be either like this or like this, but extending the shoulder behind the body, but behind the trunk, basically. And again, of course, it's not always we do isolated. That will be more the middle, sometimes maybe lift something up like that. But with the rear, often is some kind of rowing motion we're doing that, right? But okay, let's talk about one head at a time. So the front delt presses, like we think of a shoulder press, like especially with a barbell, because we're in front of us, it's going to line up with the front delt quite well. But any press overhead will, to some degree, hit the entire shoulder, like the mid delt quite a bit too. The rear delt not so much, but even something just to stabilize, right? But we got to realize that this kind of press really will target the front delt. But I put just presses because any bench press, even a flat bench press, you're going to have quite a bit of front delt activation. And when we move up in angle, like even more incline, when we're targeting the upper chest, we're definitely going to hit a lot of front delt, right? Even dips, even when we're pushing here, some kind of shoulder extension is always happening. So the point about the front delt is just that we're going to talk about programming, more specifically how to combine the exercises, but overhead pressing is one of the movement patterns I've done the least, because I just noticed that when I press a lot, when I do a lot of incline and flat pressing of different kinds, and every once in a while have some kind of shoulder press movement. It's like that's way enough. That's way enough, you know. And yeah, that's pretty much enough. And I brought in shoulder pressing movements more as some like mid-delt movement. We're gonna come to it, but also even just strengthening the shoulder because it might assist in a bench press like that. But so, point being that if we train pressing well, we might want to have an overhead press of some kind in our program, but isolations for the front, like these front raises kind of thing, is just never going to be necessary when we get to the other heads. But like we never completely isolate one head, right? We just emphasize. So why even emphasize the front delt that's going to do so much in all our pressing? You're gonna if you do lateral side raise for the middle, you're gonna get some front there. Like honestly, the only time I do isolations for the front more specifically has been more almost like a mobility or kind of recovery thing. Like get some good kind of stretch with some cables or sitting on an incline and lifting dumbbells. But for developing the front delt muscularly, definitely isolations are not needed. You can rely on getting stronger on your different dumbbell and barbell presses, even not overhead, but of course for complete development we're going to have to, at least at times, want to have some kind of barbell press or dumbbell shoulder press. Okay, we're going to talk more about exercises later. The rear delt, okay, so this is one, I think when I got into fitness, people made it sound like this, oh, you cannot miss the rear, that it looks so dumb when the entire shoulder is developed, but not the rear. To me, that must be when someone just genetically has like, well, shoulders that don't want to help out, because it's almost the same thing with the rear delt to rows, what the front delt is to presses, that to some degree you're always using your rear delts when you row, and with good pulling programming, especially when we get some movements with high flared elbows like this, it's not entirely necessary probably to have isolations. What I will say though is, let's put it this way, it's easier to pick bad like rows and pulls overall in your program and end up neglecting the rear delt than it would be with the front delt. The front delt is just always going to help out. But if you somehow manage to pick like, oh, I don't know, some lat pull down and some row that just doesn't extend the shoulder all that much, you know, yeah, you might have to think a bit more. And I would say more often, like a rear delt isolation can actually serve more of a purpose in a program than a front delt isolation. But so basically our bread and butter, like a wide grip, like it's typically any row, any pull would have some rear delt activation, but typically it would be when we have more flared elbows. That can even be like a wide grip pull up, even pulling in that direction, but wide grip rows especially. I love these kinds of exercises for isolating that upper back and rear delt. You see, we talked in the back video, the rear delt obviously goes into the shoulder, but we're going to get to programming, you're going to see that we often train the back of the shoulder with the back. But so the most important, like something like a seal row with a wide grip and pulling strictly with flare elbows, that's like a great compound for the rear delt as well. But it could be some seated row with a wide grip, one that I like when you get behind and use the seating pad as chest support, but even some kind of chest support, the machine with a wide grip, you can get flared elbows like that. For isolations, you have the pec deck, you know, what you do for the chest, but the reverse pec deck, it's a good one. You can do dumbbell, like bent over side raises like that. What I've never liked is the strength curve, even more so than a lateral raise to the side. I think it's so easy at the start and way more difficult at the top. It's a little hard to like monitor your progress. My favorite has always been double high cable pull, reverse fly like that. Amazing for the rear delt. Then we have the mid delt, okay? So I put here too that presses, obviously again, it definitely, even if it's always lots of front delt, definitely we're going to hit a lot of mid delt as well, especially when we take variations of shoulder press that's not like a barbell in front of us like this. If we do a dumbbell press, we're going to immediately, we can stand and sit, of course, but when we're going to immediately not be stuck with a bar in front of us and forcing the elbows here, actually going to be able to flare the elbows out, push more like that, which is going to put us in a more better position to use our mid delt to lift, right? But even behind the neck press, one of these controversial, dangerous exercises, that's not dangerous, it's just for some people, it might be an exposed position and you'd have to improve your mobility before. Honestly, I say this even, my right shoulder is more internally rotated than the left. Today, I haven't done a behind the neck press in a long time, but I sort of deloaded my upper body workout, and I did that one because I actually felt good. I could kind of push my arm into external rotation. But yeah, that could be done in a Smith machine too for more stability, but I would often sit. Could stand too, but so same thing there, that when we're not here, we have a barbell now, but we take it behind the neck. It's going to push the elbows more out to the side, and we're actually going to push more with our mid delt. And what I say too is like all presses, but especially these dumbbell presses and behind the neck presses, there's a whole lot of upper back too, which of course, now we're talking about the deltoid, the shoulder muscle like that, but of course the upper back, like muscles around there, are gonna work together with the delts very often. But it can just be good to know for your overall programming that this kind of shoulder exercise definitely hits the upper back quite a bit too. But great enough, or happily enough, the upper back can tolerate a lot of volume. Let's say upright rows first. This is like the most, other than some kind of shoulder press where you manage to, dumbbell press or behind the neck press where you manage to target mid-delts better. Upright row is like the most compound-ish. It's not quite a compound because you will never be able to go that heavy on it. But for the mid-delt, it's sort of a compound, And I love these. These I've done a lot in my training, way more than shoulder presses. I focused on upright rows because, as we're going to get to, I think you should prioritize the mid-delt. I'll tell you why soon. But so the upright row, if you think of a lateral raise like that, the upright row is almost the same, just with the arm bent inwards, right? You pull, it's basically the elbows you pull still, and maybe you're gonna help out just a little bit with your forearms. But upright rows, I like it with a narrow grip. For some people, honestly, if it doesn't feel good on your shoulder, just try that. I would prefer the narrow grip most of the time, if it's possible for you, but just move out and see. It doesn't change the exercise all that much, okay? I just like this kind of stretch you can get with a narrow grip. Upright rows, if you don't do it with a bar, by the way, you can do it in a cable. Gonna target, when you're standing a bit more like that, gonna target more back of the shoulder. Like what we do in an upright row, which pretty much hits the entire shoulder, but focuses on the mid. So if I have a cable pulling in that direction, I'm gonna turning the focus a bit more backwards now. Even one variation I used to do is lying down in a seated row. So imagine I'm lying down in a machine now, just pulling from there. It's a pretty cool exercise. And you can even, honestly, can play with it with weight. Take lower weights, you can even lift it all the way up here. Just see what you like, Isolations, I think I put a question mark on these two because you might not need them on those, especially not front delt, maybe not rear delt, but on the mid delt for full shoulder development, just absolutely. And so lateral raises, good old lateral raises with dumbbells are great. There are machines for that too. But my favorite has always, just like the reverse cable fly, I always like the cable lateral raise. I like to bend over, get a good, what the cables do is, apart from the more even resistance curve, is this amazing stretch that you don't really get. You'd have to do one side at a time and lean with a dumbbell or something. But so the cable lateral raise is awesome. So I put here that prioritize the mid, then the rear, then the front. And if you've listened so far, you should understand why. That the front just does not need to be prioritized. Never seen a guy with like an underdeveloped front delt if it wasn't that his entire body was underdeveloped. Like a guy that, he has a good chest but no front delt, just never happened, So it's just the one that you're not going to have to focus as much on. The rear, like I said, with good pulling programming, probably not going to have to focus too much. Maybe throw in reverse cable fly or something like that. But the mid is really, my round shoulders that people have told me sometimes are a giveaway that I'm on roids, because it isn't just a freaking muscle that you can grow. Of course, it's not a human body that builds muscle, that's steroids. It's actually what they inject, Now I ended up in that bit, but basically you can get good, nice, round, Boulder shoulders naturally, right? But for me, I think it is a genetic strong point, first of all. It could be good to say. Compared to my arms, that definitely are not in comparison. So yeah, but that roundness, increasing that roundness that I'm trying to show, I don't know about the angle right now, that has really come from just hammering the mid delt with upright rows and lateral raise variations, right? Yeah, and then I just want to talk a bit about exercises and form. I mean, presses don't really have to talk about, like you just progress on your bench presses and incline and shoulder presses the way you would, you know. It's more for isolations, I'm thinking here. That something like a lateral raise, you know, there are many different, I can take a weight and like really push my shoulder blades down and have low weight and pull just so isolated with just my mid delt. And that could be nice to feel the muscle, get a good burn on that. But honestly, that kind of so super isolated training, I think it benefits the enhanced guys the most, because, you know, they have unnaturally elevated protein synthesis. Their muscles are almost like screaming to grow, while like, because bodybuilding, even without gear, you gotta realize that it's a little unnatural sometimes to so much isolate the function of a muscle. It's kind of like, and I don't talk about, even if that's your goal, I just, to me it seems like sometimes overly isolating a muscle, you're not working the muscle it was supposed to. So it's like, okay, you can make it burn or something, but can you really stimulate it enough to make it grow? So typically, for me, I wouldn't want you to, it's again like with the rowing forms, you know, there isn't one answer, like should it be super strict like this or go, but there's something in the middle. What I usually like for dumbbells, for instance, I would not have completely straight arms. I would not mind that my traps help out a bit. Like, those are muscles I want to develop, and they can handle so much volume, it won't take anything away from my mid-delt training anyway, so why not, you know? But so I would never want like a complete swing. If you can't control the eccentric at all, honestly, I don't think you benefit. You're training your hips and core or something, some kind of explosive thing. I like something where a slight bent arm, where I get the first reps, this is like me playing strict without any oomph, and I actually get up here and I can control the negative. Maybe if I just, on a few last ones, start using a bit of body English. And what I like, these kinds of exercises, for them, to me, lateral raises, if you don't take them to failure, you could just do sets and sets and sets and sets and not get sore, not get any effect of it at all. To me, from these, especially shoulder isolations, the shoulders just respond well to just going really intense, making it burn a lot. So what I will do with lateral raises, it was some while since I programmed it with dumbbells for myself, but I would have a rep range like 10 to 15, and then on my last set, no matter if, let's say I get 11 where I barely get up, I would just rep out partial reps until 20 always. Many times also you just do drop sets, move down the dumbbell stack like that. But same thing, I think, or with the rear delts, like it's not even going to be possible to hyper isolate in that way. And I guess it's not so much more I need to say about that. I guess the upright rows, that's one thing I'd say. It's an exercise that, to me, you're going to lose a bit of range of motion at the top way before anything else. Like with most rowing options, exercises, even though this isn't a typical row. But so that's an exercise where I like to find somewhere where like 10 reps is like challenging. Maybe I lose a bit of range of motion, but I kind of want to. And then I just do 10 reps. 3 sets probably, you know, and even if I lose a bit of range of motion on the last reps on the last set, especially, I don't mind, and I'll keep adding like the minimum weight until it's like, okay, I definitely, like those 10, like the last 3 I barely move it, you know, okay, I'll spend some time with this weight, you know. But yeah, I guess that's all to say about that. But about programming, what I want to say here is that like having a shoulder day has never made sense. It's so funny how many guys that want an extra shoulder day or something. Because to me, shoulders are a strong point for me. And I mean, sure, that maybe genetically too, but also I've developed my shoulders a lot during this time. And shoulder day is the day I've been like least prone to have, okay, and I don't think it's just me, again, because I think so, like when you pull, when you're training back, the shoulder sits right there before, you're gonna use your shoulder, the mid-delts for many pulls too, and when you press, you're going to use the front. It's like, well, whatever, so the programming, the shoulder day, unless you're like very unlucky in the genetic department. I would never put a shoulder day. And I would typically, at the front delt, you know, you train it on an upper body day or a push day, right? You rarely have to think of isolations at all. It's just that on whatever day you train presses, maybe if you want to focus more on the front and mid shoulder, maybe throw some above the head press too. But it's on a push day when you train chest and triceps, or an upper body day when you train the upper body, you would train the front delt, right? Rear delt, same thing, just like it's on your pull day and on an upper body day. And the mid could be put almost anywhere, honestly. Like some people like to put like lateral raises stuff on a push day, some on a pull day. It's always worked out best with my programming to do on a push day, train the middle. But for instance, I've done for a long time like lateral raises on a push day, and on the next day on a pull day do these, and been able to progress too. So especially with these isolations, I think the shoulders can take a lot of volume. But the point is that you don't really need a shoulder day. Like I would then have just like a push day that's more shoulder focused, or a pull day where I focus more on upper back and rear delt, you know. But I would just very, very rarely put a pure shoulder day in there. But yeah, let me take an example of an upper body day where you can get good work. Many of my clients will recognize this is like a typical workout I would do on my upper day. It's Monday today, so it's upper day. And many of my clients that have on similar programs, or that just have upper body days in their program, very often, I would often have some kind of pull-up or chin-up first. That's not going to be all too much shoulder. If we do a wide grip pull-up, okay, we have a decent amount of rear delt, but I would often in an upper body want something that focus more lat there. Then the next exercise can be some kind of press, can be an incline press. I have a lot of front delt, right? Then now, if I took some lati, the movement like a chin-up, I would want some kind of wide grip row. If I get to decide here, a wide grip seal row would be amazing. Now we definitely hit that rear delt, right? But that, yeah, I guess I should have said, just like in the presses, that the mid delt contribute quite a lot. For some rows, the mid delt is also going to contribute a lot. But okay, so we have our chin-up. Or let's say we took a flat bench press, quite a bit of front delt. We have the rear delt, and now we have some. Then we have the sorry, my words. Seal row. We get the rear delt and some mid delt. And let's say we now incline dumbbell press. Okay, we have upper chest, but more upper front delt. Some mid here too. And here, what I very often would put on the upper body day after the 2 pushes and pulls is an upright row that targets more the middle. And can you see now how that upper body day addressed like every muscle on the shoulder quite well without having any shoulder press in it? We had an upright row that most people would think of as a shoulder exercise. But you see, and so very often on a pull day, for instance, I would, if the first exercise is something more lati again, I would tend to put the second option, some kind of wide grip thing, you know, maybe depending on the day, maybe some more similar exercise like that row, and maybe later some reverse cable fly for more volume for the rear delt, right? On a push day, very often many clients will recognize this as a typical day that I've started my day to. Incline bench press first, okay, good amount of front delt. Do something like a dip or a flat dumbbell press, we get more front delt. But now we can if we want to focus more on the shoulder and the entire shoulder, mid delt too, we can get a seated dumbbell press, for instance. I would often put that there, or a behind the neck press, right? So yeah, that's it, guys. I'm sorry, I feel like I stumble on my words. I feel clear-headed, but I stumble on my words many times. But hope that was helpful. Please give your input or ask questions about this in the comments. Tell me what muscle group do you want to see next. We have on the upper body, we have the arms, forearms, and we have the core, the neck, I guess, left. We have the legs. I think we put the calves by themselves, and that would be it. The legs and the butt together. So please let me know, guys. I do holistic bodybuilding coaching, getting jacked and stacked mentally, physically, spiritually, working on ourselves, body, mind, and soul, becoming that individual that just manifests this physique from the way that they are. The external is a manifestation of the internal. If you're interested in becoming that person with that physique, send me a DM on Instagram or email me. It's in the description below. I'll tell you about my different programs. You can pick up my training book. everything philosophy, mindset, and technique related you need to become a self-reliant, jacked and stacked individual. And please subscribe for more content about fitness, building muscle, losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys. Let's build some Boulder shoulders. Peace.